Welcome to Close Up on America's Business, the program that takes you inside some of the most unique and successful companies in America. I'm Janice Marie. On each edition of our show, you have the opportunity to meet some of the most innovative business leaders in the country today. You'll find out what their products, services, technologies, and business models can do for you, and what they're doing to change our world and to change the way we do business.
It is something that is bound to happen whenever a group of people who love food, especially Italian food, gather around to talk. Sure enough, at some point, someone will stand up and say, you know, my grandmother made the best spaghetti sauce in the world. But when Patrick Palmieri of New Haven, Connecticut starts talking about his grandmother's sauce, he's not just bragging, he is very serious. Because for over 87 years, his company has been making and selling the spaghetti sauce based on the recipe his grandmother created back in 1920. Today, a wide variety of Palmieri sauces are bottled and sold in stores throughout the northeastern United States, and all of them essentially based on that original recipe his grandmother created so many years ago. It's a remarkable story of a family-owned company, and today Patrick is the third-generation president of this Palmieri Food Products Company.
It began when my grandmother was cooking for the family in the back of her little grocery store in the 1920s. And they would all come in and they would eat. You know, my grandmother would always have sauce cooking, and people would come into the store, they would smell the sauce cooking. And people didn't have the time to stew the tomatoes down. So they asked my grandmother, Anna, can I get some sauce? And Anna said, sure. And she started putting it in little bottles for them. And before you know it, the people were dropping the bottle off in the morning, a jelly jar, a peanut butter jar. Anna would fill it up in the course of the day, put it on the shelf. When they came home, walking by the store after work, they would go to the shelf and they would recognize the jar that they gave my grandmother in the morning, and they'd grab it and they'd grab a loaf of bread and some pasta, and they would go home and have dinner, and the sauce was already made. And that was the beginning of the Palmieri sauce.
And now, I mean, it's, what, 87 years later, are you still using basically the same recipe, the same ingredients?
The same recipe with the spices and the onions and the garlic. We make sure that the tomatoes are picked ripe and they have the grade A color, so the natural sugars are in the tomatoes, and it's not necessary to sweeten up the tomatoes with a sugar or a corn syrup, and all of that is the same. The only thing I've changed was she used to cure suet with the onions and garlic for the fat in the sauce, and I replaced the suet with extra virgin olive oil and canola oil, which are much, much more healthier for you.
Tell me a little bit about the various products, because you've got a lot of them, that the company offers now.
We have 12 flavors of red sauces. We also do a fabulous salsa, and we do a barbecue sauce. We do a buffalo chicken wing sauce. We do Andrew's horseradish and cocktail sauce. And one of the great customers we have is the Fairway stores in Manhattan. Once I develop a recipe for a company and they've accepted it, they own that recipe from that time on. It's theirs, and I'll never make it for anybody but them.
I've been buying our sauces from Palmieri. We've had them co-pack our sauces for many years now. They're an extremely important part of our business in that we put our name on the jar, and it happens to be an item that's very, very popular, so it has to be as good as it can possibly be. Most stores, supermarket chains are happy to put their name on something that's fine, you know, okay, but that's not good enough for us. We want to have the absolute best pasta sauce we could possibly have, and we did it from day one, and we did it because of Palmieri. And it happened because Mr. Palmieri understands how important the ingredients are. We're sticklers about ingredients. We're specialists as regards ingredients in all forms of food, but most particularly with European style stuff. So it's important that the product have the very best olive oil, and the very best tomatoes, the very highest end herbs and spices we can buy. We use the sauces in our own homes. We know the quality of them because we taste all the other brands. none of them can hold a candle to what we do ourselves with Palmieri.
In an effort to give back to the community, Palmieri Foods has often worked with various charities, such as the Easter Seal Foundation, when they dedicated a 24-ounce size of their spaghetti sauce to the campaign, and the charity shared in the income. Patrick, we're here on the line now. Explain to me the process of how you make this sauce. What's going on?
Well, behind us we're mixing up different recipes, and depending on the recipe, dictates to us what's got to go in the tank. Each one of these kettles is a handcrafted sauce by a chef who knows the recipe, and when he gets it all mixed up, he tastes it, makes sure the consistency is right and the flavor is right.
What about the cooking process? Is the sauce being cooked right now?
All the sauce is being cooked by steam. So these babies get up to over 200, they peak out at about 212 degrees. So when it's mixed thoroughly and it's up to the right temperature, then we can send it over to the filling machine.
Patrick, explain to me what's happening here at this point. What's going on the line?
The sauce in the kettles has been pumped over. It's where it's supposed to be. Temperature, flavor, consistency. This machine puts the proper portions in the bottles, and then moving on down to the next machine. At this point, after the bottles have been filled, they go to a capping machine, and the capper that we're using has a steam atmosphere that takes the oxygen out from underneath the cap. So that when it makes a seal, there's no oxygen in there to make the product deteriorate.
And the bottles are being washed at this point.
Yeah, then they go through a power wash, a blow dry, then they get labeled, coated, they get put back in a box. For the next stage is ambering cooling, where they get cooled down.
We've now reached a much quieter atmosphere, having left the assembly line process. You call this the cool down room?
This is where we cool down.
Really, what happens here?
We use the ambering cool down, which is just a natural cooling. The sauce actually is continuing to cook as it sits here, because the bottles are still 200 degrees. And then tomorrow morning it'll get proofed. And then we check to make sure the cap took a proper seal, proper vacuum. And then before the case gets cold, we know that all 12 bottles have took a proper seal, and they're ready for the customers, for the store, they're ready to be shipped out.
Where can someone who is intrigued by this and wants to buy these sauces, especially here in the New Haven area, where can they buy them?
In New Haven, you can get 12 flavors at Romeo and Caesar's on Orange Street, also Orange Market, Stop and Shop, the Bizzuto's IGA stores, ShopRite's, and Expect Discounts. It's in the BJ's, Costco's, and Sam's Club stores. Also, for people who have moved out of Connecticut or where they used to eat the sauce and they get to their new place where they're living, we ship a lot of sauce out through the internet. We mail it anywhere in the country. We ship it all over the place. It's a great product, it really is. We're an all-natural food packers. Don't allow chemicals or preservatives or tomato extenders or dyes. And when you've eaten it, you can swear that somebody made it home. You know, it's got a very homemade taste to it. It's a very pleasant experience. You know, you're tasting a little bit of history.
The remarkable story of the Palmieri Food Products Company, which has been making spaghetti sauces since all the way back in 1920, and which is why they say when you enjoy their product, you are actually tasting a little bit of history. I'm Doug Llewellyn reporting from New Haven, Connecticut.
Well, that does it for this edition of Close Up on America's Business. I'm Janice Marie. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.